Hey there, folks. This is Russ Colchamiro. Some of you know me from my podcast, Russ's Rock and Roller Coaster, and I am also a science fiction, fantasy, and mystery author. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am sick and tired of all this quarantine doom and gloom, all this dystopian muck that's hanging over our heads, and I want to have some fun. And I'm looking forward to Bill and Ted 3 because I like that kind of thing. And if you like sci-fi comedy adventures like Bill and Ted, or Groundhog Day, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Third Rock from the Sun, well, I've got something for you. So I've got my own sci-fi comedy series, the first book being Finders Keepers, the second book being Genius De Milo, and the third and final book being Astropalooza. Now, in the first book, Finders Keepers, it's loosely based on a series of backpacking trips that I took through Europe and New Zealand, set against a quest for a jar that contains the universe's DNA. And our two backpacking heroes, Jason Medley, based on me, and Theo Barnes, based on a buddy of mine from New Zealand, are kind of stuck in the middle. And throughout their shenanigans, you see this jar here, this jar of the universe's DNA is caught in the middle, and they ultimately wind up saving the day, but as typically happens, they wind up making matters worse. So now for the second, although they don't know that. In the second book, Genius De Milo, the action has taken place, is transferred. It's a few years later. The guys are a couple of years older, and now we're in the US. And I took a bunch, I've driven cross country a couple of times, and some of the action is based on my trips across the US. Now, in Genius De Milo, the minder of the universe, who is sort of the God character, and Milo, who is his cosmic foil, the great disruptor, are battling over the fate of the Earth. And the guys are caught in the middle once again. Now, in this scene, there's also a character, Jamie. Now, Jamie comes from a cosmic realm called Eternity. Now, if you think of Hollywood as an industry town that makes, like the movies, TV shows, Eternity is a cosmic realm, an industry town where they make the universe. Well, anyway, she's come down to Earth for reasons I'm not going to get into. You can read for yourself. And she's mixed up with the guys. Now, what's happened is in their adventures, their misadventures, they were actually in a plane crash of sorts. But I won't get into that. And Jamie is kind of having like a flirt thing with Theo. And even though Jason and Theo are both in relationships and everything's fine, Jason's a little bit jealous of Jamie. She doesn't trust Jamie, and he's not even sure why he's jealous. He doesn't know if he's jealous of Jamie or jealous of Theo, or maybe even both. But all this cosmic lunacy is starting to get to him. He doesn't know what to think of it. He's stressed out for very reasonable reasons. And I'm going to pick up in a chapter called Walking on the Moon. All right. And right now they're settled in Terre Haute, Indiana. To find out why they got there, you'd have to read the book, but this chapter kind of lays out, I think, a good framework for what else is in this entire series. All right. The Terre Haute Motel 9 wasn't exactly the Rubicon, Jamie thought, but it was clean, warm, dry, and most important, on the ground. Jamie booked them consecutive rooms connected by a conjoining door. Jamie wasn't sure who was expected to sleep in which room. Theo hadn't said much since the plane. She didn't know what to make of that either. There's so little time, she thought. Don't hold back now. Jason, meanwhile, was bundled up in the desk chair in a jacket, hat, and gloves, his feet on the bed. Good thing you had the gear. You get this a lot. And Jackie, now Jackie is a pilot, a friend of theirs whose plane it was, and he's sort of mixed up in this too a little bit. Jackie was wrapped in full winter attire, including a wool scarf. No, not really, but we fly year-round, so we keep gear for every season. Besides, when you have as many private customers as we do, you never know where you'll be off to next or what you'll need. Who cares, Jamie thought. Just take Jason out of here. Named by the French for being on high land, Terre Haute was a small Midwestern city near Indiana's western border with Illinois, and had become known for its cornfields, meth labs, prostitutes, and, thanks to a funky smell that at one time emanated from a local factory in the southern part of the city, as possibly being the tuna fish capital of the world. But a resurgent downtown and emergence of several nonprofit groups and the expansion of the Indiana State University campus had ushered in a new energy. Good thinking either way. And I have to say, Jason said, you seem to be taking this pretty well. That was scary as hell. Yes, well, Jackie said, I like to think I'm fairly well adjusted, generally speaking, and that it takes quite a bit for me to lose my proverbial poo-poo. Jackie rolled his hand in a stately fashion, as they say. But the storm that just hit us, wowzer, I was not prepared for that. He checked his watch, a Rolex. I don't know about you guys, but after that flight, I need to get a little freaky, and I'm talking freaky deaky. I know you big city boys wouldn't think it, but the locals here really know how to partay, and the storm's basically passed. Want to come? Oh, yes, please, Jamie thought. Go with him. Leave me with Theo. Then maybe he'll... No, thanks, Jason said. I'm gonna sit this one out. I need to chill. That was a rough ride. Oh, come on, Jamie thought. Besides, Jason said, I need a hot shower and a soft bed. I ache all over. Jackie raised an eyebrow. Is that an invitation? Sure, yes, Jamie said, whatever. Just give me alone time with... Jason said, no, solo mission, but thanks for the offer. We're going to go eat. Jamie? Theo? No? Jackie shrugged, unscrewed the top of a tiny bottle, and with an eyedropper, squeezed a liquid dot on his tongue. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a roll of cash, and placed a $100 bill in the TV. Suit yourself, but dinner's on me. Least I can do. I'll see y'all later. Thwarted again, Jamie followed Jason and Theo through a moderate snowfall as Jackie disappeared into the night. They made their way next door to Sylvia's, bordered by a 24/7 gas station, Big Tico's chicken and pizza joint, a check cashing operation, Diamond Lou's pawn shop, and another motel. Settled into a corner booth, they put down a massive plate each. Theo a bacon cheeseburger, Jamie the mac and cheese, and Jason the spaghetti with meatballs and garlic bread, watching the snow fall in the parking lot. They barely spoke. Bellies full, they bundled back up into their donated winter gear and wandered through the courtyard toward the motel. Jamie stood beneath a street lamp glowing in the darkness. She packed a snowball, her first on Earth. It was colder and had more heft than she was used to. She chucked it at Theo. So what do you think? This weather, the storm? Is that a Milo thing? The jar. It has to be, right? Theo ducked and packed his own snowball. Maybe. I don't know. Gotta be, Jason said. Storms don't just appear like that. Maybe up in eternity, in the center of the universe, but not around here. But hey, what do I know? Jamie didn't like his tone. Believe me, we get plenty of storms, just not like that. I'm guessing you don't have planes like that either. Well, we don't have planes at all. Yeah, you probably fly spaceships and rockets or have turbo boosters wherever you go. Up, up, and away. Although, that's Superman now that I think about it. Get out of my face, Jamie thought. You're pissing me off. We don't have planes or spaceships, and I don't know what that rocket is, but I'm pretty sure we don't have those either, if you can deal with that. Although we do have CCSs, if that's what you mean, celestial cruise ships, but no planes or anything like that. Theo lobbed a snowball her way, grazing her shoulder. How's it work then? How do you get around, yeah? Okay, Jamie thought. I finally have his attention. Hang on a second. It's a lot like here, Jamie said. Cars, buses, trains, the usual, but we don't have, what do you call the big regions? States, countries? We've just got the 9 spheres of eternity. That's it. And they don't really connect. They just sort of drift into each other to infinity. Theo said. Jason shrugged. And beyond? It's like a cloud bank, I guess you'd call it. And it doesn't have any dimensions, Jamie said. There's no obvious top or bottom, no beginning or end. It's just there. And if you want to travel from one sphere of eternity to another, you just enter infinity, the giant cloud bank. Theo smiled when he spoke. Jamie liked that. She was drawn to the way the street lamp illuminated the snowflakes as they drifted all around Theo, like he was floating within a full-size snow globe. Right, the giant cloud bank. And then once you're in there, you just think yourself to your destination. You can walk or ride a bicycle or drive your car into it, and then you just feel where you want to go. And then infinity takes you there. And when you exit, you're right where you need to be. And it doesn't take more than a second or two. So infinity is a lot like New York then, Jason offered with sarcasm. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right? Without speaking, the three of them gently lobbed snowballs at each other. Jamie studied the guys, could see their minds at work. Since her arrival on Earth, she had felt very much like the stranger that she was, the outcast, the imposter. But the more she spoke about eternity, the less they had to say. In her little fear-filled life in eternity, she considered her efforts meaningless, insignificant. But down here on Earth, she was exotic, magical even, from a realm they could barely comprehend. and that filled her with power, electricity, confidence. Jason finally broke the silence, kicked snow off his boot. So what's it like up there? I mean, why do they even bother with us? We normally wouldn't, Jamie said, to push back a little, to diminish him and elevate herself. But as her words hung in the air, she not only reinforced the notion that she was truly from a foreign world, but also from one vastly superior in the hierarchy of existence. She, for the first time, began to appreciate Jason's underlying hostility toward her. Jamie was, at least from Jason's perspective, slumming it, and in epic proportions. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean it like that. I really didn't. The truth is, eternity is a lot more like Earth than you'd think. Jason rolled his eyes, then resumed chucking snowballs. You guys, what, create the universe? Plant the stars? Jamie bobbed her head back and forth. A snowflake landed on her nose. Kinda, yeah. So let me get this straight, Jason said. You're from up there, from eternity, which you're saying is a realm, for lack of a better term, located in a distant corner of time, space, and dimension that is unreachable and undetectable in any way we could possibly conceive. Basically, yes. Okay. And you're also saying that this unreachable, undetectable realm is essentially an industry town whose sole purpose is to design, build, and provide maintenance for the entire universe and everything in it. And I'm talking everything. The planets, the moons, the stars, the galaxy, all of it. Every dust particle, every nebula, every physical element that exists anywhere, and all the life forms that go with it. Jamie turned to Theo, whose eyes revealed that he wanted the answer as badly as Jason did. Earth baffled her, but she baffled them. Jamie said, that pretty much covers it. Jason continued. The reporter in him, he's a reporter in this life, was taking over. And anyone who doesn't have a direct hand in the construction of the universe has some job that, at least tangentially, supports that industry or exists because of it. You said you work in a hotel, right? And that's just ancillary to the universe business? Yes, Jamie said. That's right. Okay, Jason said. Okay. So how did you describe yourselves? Eternitarians. Right. So eternitarians are basically gods, right? We were basically created by you in your image to what? Entertain you? Give you something to laugh at? Or is there something more transcendental going on? Are we supposed to be finding our way through existence in the search for meaning that will one day bring us closer to our makers? You know, you? Jamie took a deep breath. Well, she exhaled. Not me personally. I have no power to speak of. I'm nobody. Seriously, I can barely pay my rent. I just work the check-in desk at the hotel. The hotel where they create the universe. Oh yeah, that sounds totally like us. You just described my life like exactly. Theo usually drives a Comet to work. Me, I prefer to hail a meteor through a wormhole. It takes a little longer, but I can always get a seat. Jason stomped off, muttering to himself as the snow began to fall more intensely, with large white flakes whisking in a swirl. But then he felt a thwack in the back of the head. Hey, what the? He turned around only to find Theo armed with another snowball. Oh, Jason grinned and in quick succession hurled snowballs in Theo's direction, landing with one, missing with the other two. And before they knew it, all three of them were engaged in a full-on snowball fight on Earth in Terre Haute, Indiana in September. You know, Jamie said, hiding behind a park bench, one thing I will say, the views, they're spectacular. My life in eternity isn't the least bit glamorous. I know you don't believe me, but trust me, it really isn't. But look there, she pointed to the night sky. Look at the moon. It's full and round and gives off a milky white glow. It's soothing, luminous. Theo nodded in agreement. But it's so small. In eternity where I'm from, every night, they rotate in a debuting galaxy, a moon, a comet shower, sometimes a galaxy, or a cluster of galaxies, and it's like this close. Jamie held her hand up to her face. The moon would be right here. It would take up the entire sky flush against the horizon, just an endless sea of glowing white you could practically touch, like you could walk to the end of the road and then just disappear, swallowed by the enormity of it all. Jamie paused, smiled oddly. But I guess it's not like that here, is it? Jason and Theo shook their heads. Jamie twisted the front of her foot into the snow like stamping out a cigarette. You just live in a daze up there, one day into the next, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, your friends, your family, your job, your apartment. And somehow you think that whatever's right in front of you, that whatever you can see is all that matters. That's all there is. Whether she realized it or not, Jamie drifted to face Theo until their eyes met. Her frosty breath merged with his, white mist sprinkled against the back of night. And you forget sometimes that you might be staring at something truly special. You're sedated by routine. You just don't notice. The snowfall picked up both in speed and intensity. Jamie, Jason, and Theo reached their hands up to the sky. The street lamps threw light upon them, catching immense snowflakes in the beams. Jason removed his finger guns, cocked his thumb triggers, and made the sound. Okay, boys and girls, Big J is on the scene, and he's calling for indoor heat. Race ya! A challenge Theo accepted. Jamie dashed off after them through the driving snow when there was a blast of white light. There were streaks of screaming fluorescent color. There was the sensation of being sucked through a tornado. And then there were ruins, lots and lots of ruins. No longer dressed in winter garb, they were in snow shorts, t-shirts, and sandals, staring up at a massive stone temple. Golden beams of light shone down on them. Jamie turned all the way around, determined that they were alone in an ancient city, and then looked at Jason's hands. She set him straight. Do me a favor, put those finger guns away. They're loaded, they work, and they're nothing but trouble. Okay, so that gives you a sense of some of the cosmic shenanigans that are going on. So while the guys are down on here on Earth, they're mixed up in cosmic madness, and that's a scene from Genius de Milo. So like I said, I'm Russ Colchamiro, the author of Russ's Rock and Roller Coaster. And if you, oh Lord, look at this. I got my wife printing out something down here while I'm talking. And if you're in the mood, for Bill and Ted 3, or if you like Bill and Ted 3, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Groundhog Day, and that kind of thing, you can check out Genius de Milo, Finders Keepers, and Astropalooza, all available on sale at Amazon. Keep up the faith. Let's have a good time. I know things are kind of crappy out there right now, but let's bring the fun. Let's keep the fun. Things are going to get better, and I'm going to be there with you. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.